one time when we were in Anaheim, I rented a car and I drove to Beverly Hills. I'd never been to Beverly Hills before.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like my rookie year. I was like, I don't know, we'll go check out
Right.
Beverly Hills. I've never been there. All the talk is. So I rented a car early and I drove and checked it out. I didn't know about LA traffic. I almost missed batting practice coming back. But just do some things like that, because you didn't know when you get that opportunity, and the opportunity presented itself with being a Major League Baseball player to do some things. And instead of just sitting in my hotel room the whole time and go from the ballpark to the hotel room, I tried to get out, and there were some cities I'd never been to before. I heard good things about places, try to sightsee, do things like that, because I didn't know if I'd ever get the opportunity to do those things again.
Right, that's good stuff, man. That's an unbelievable story. I could only imagine like that excitement. So
I just had like the wide eye, wake up early, like, okay, what am I gonna do today?
Right.
It's like you don't have to be at the ballpark to batting practice or stretch or whatever till 4:30.
Right.
So it's like, find some things to do. Let me check out. It's like, we're in this city. I'll go here. I do this. I do this. And, that was kind of how the first 4 or 5 years in the big leagues was like okay. Right. And then once I got established, then I was like, okay, now I ain't going anywhere.
Right. I'm here.
Okay, now let's see what I could do to stay as long as possible, and to make sure that now that I can move into more of a leadership role. I'm not the young guy anymore. I'm not the rook.
Right.
I'm the guy that some of the younger guys may be looking towards. I'm the guy that is getting close to being a vet. I'm the guy that can lead some guys in the right direction. So that was a transition from being a young guy to just happy to be there, like a little puppy dog, to all right, now this may be more of my team. So let's mold it into what kind of culture do we want to create here? What are we trying to do here? We just showing up and playing, or we trying to win ball games? Yeah, the big picture. What down the road? So that's kind of how it was, and then I got traded to the Cubs, and that was a great opportunity. I thought I'd be with the Royals my whole career. I was with them from when I signed in 1985 till after the strike, 1994 with the strike. Then I get traded to the Cubs. The National League fit my style, fit my game. I was able to blossom. My last 2 years in Kansas City were pretty good. So I was starting to come into my own as a player and establish myself aside from my dad's career and him managing. So I was kind of, it was that separation, and I get to Chicago and things take off even more. We on TV every day. WGN, the day games, the Cubbies, the Lovable, all that. And then I was exposed to a whole different element there in Chicago, and that's when I really started to enjoy, okay, this is what the big leagues is about.
I got you.
Kansas City was cool, but Chicago.
That's the major city, New York, LA, Chicago.
And so I got to play into it, then go from Chicago to New York, and to play in that environment, and to live in Manhattan, and to soak up New York City and the vibe, the energy level that is there every day, the demands of what New Yorkers put on their, as a young player, I wouldn't have been able to handle the struggles that I had playing in New York. It would have beat me down, because it's just a negative city. But as an older, a more established player, I was able to go to New York and fight through it, and not beat myself up as much as I would have if I was 22 in New York. I don't know how some of those young guys handle it.
I agree.
And that's why you see so many, I think, players that fail in all sports in New York. New York's tough, and they'll chew you up and spit you out. The media's on you, the fans are on you. I remember walking down the street, go to get some food, coffee, or something like that, had the garbage man yelling at me.
Wow.
Because took strike 3 the night before. Their expectations and how they, you have 20 million eyes on you every day.
True, you're right, man.
And
bright lights,
having all that on you, some people can't handle it.
Yeah.
And as a young player, I'm glad I went from Kansas City to Chicago to New York, as opposed to starting off in New York, because I don't know if I would have had the career that I had if I would have been drafted by the Yankees, which was close to happening. From what I found out later on, that the Yankee scouts had been watching me more than any other scouts.
Wow.
and the Yankees almost picked me, and I'm glad I didn't play for the Yankees.
That's awesome.
No, I don't wish that upon anybody as a young ball player coming up through the Yankees organization. You know, I was a first round pick, so being a first round pick, high expectations, and if you struggle, they just beat you down.
Yeah, true. Man. So this is one thing I think is really, I'm curious to understand. I've been hearing a lot about this the last like 5 years. It's probably 5 or 6 years. But what do you think is the part of why the 80s, 90s, and 70s, a lot of minority players played baseball? Why is there a decrease, do you believe, in the amount of minority players today?
Well, I think that in my dad's era, the end of segregation era there in the 60s, I think you had more of your communities that baseball was still enriched in. From barnstorming to the Negro League teams, I think that baseball, a lot of communities were impacted by that in a positive way, and it was what the kids did. You know, they all played a lot of baseball. It was not as expensive as it is now. It was not as specialized as it is now. So I think the specialization, the expense of travel ball and showcases and things like that, that excludes a whole lot of people, and that excludes a lot of the minorities. College scholarships at the D1 level for a team like, you know, when I coached at Mizzou in 2017, they had 11.7 full scholarships for a roster of about 35.
Wow.
And you have to give, the smallest amount you can give to a kid is 25%. So everybody's paying. So if you're a good athlete and you don't sign out of high school and get a good signing bonus, because a lot of guys, if you watch minor league baseball, there are a ton of minorities. You know, a lot of African Americans play minor league baseball. They may not get to the big leagues. You don't see the finished product, but a lot of them, if you go to a minor league ball game, you will see a lot more minorities than you think. So a lot of kids sign out of high school, they just don't make it.
I got you.
At the college level, they're just, the scholarship opportunities aren't there. And I think over time, the luster of baseball has been surpassed by the other sports.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you have kids now that instead of wanting to be Willie Mays, they want to be Patrick Mahomes, or they want to be LeBron James. You know, they want to do those things. And the communities that used to have good facilities, nice parks, places to play, the kids would play ball and things like that. You don't see kids that play unorganized stickball or unorganized baseball. Everything is organized. Where we did a lot of things as young kids, we just get if there's 8 kids in the neighborhood, we play a game with 8 kids, and we figure it out. If they're not, you throw the ball against a wall. So you don't see those type of things. And baseball takes more. Like, you can get some guys together and throw the football. You can get some guys together and play basketball. And you don't have to have the exact numbers, and you can still do some of those things. Baseball, you need more in numbers, and you don't see kids play like that anymore.
No, not at all. They don't gather like that.
They don't gather, and they don't just go to the park all day and just wear it out. They don't. They need coaching. They have their specialized coach here, and guys need their pitching coach, and they need their hitting coach, and they need their $500 bat, and all that. And those things just, they exclude a lot of people from the sport of baseball. And that's something that, with me getting into coaching, and the reason why I started doing coaching after I broadcasted for on and off for about 15 years, but doing the coaching, the reason why I wanted to give back was just to give opportunity just to some of those kids, not even, then they have to be minorities, but just kids that, to enjoy the game and to understand that you don't have to have thoughts of being a D1 baseball player, going to playing pro ball to love baseball. And then those are going to be the future coaches that are going to help out. And I think we're losing some of those future coaches because everything's so specialized, and these guys are thinking now, well, if I don't get a scholarship, then I'm done with baseball. Where there's all kind of other things that you can do.
Opportunities, yeah.
You know, you can coach, you can be an exec, you can do all those things. So I think that's what gravitated me more to coaching, because I thought I could impact guys, not try to help them, you know, get to the big league, because me coaching them not gonna get them to the big leagues.
Right. You got you.
You know, that's not the way I look at it. When I see former players of mine playing college ball, and a couple of them are now in the big leagues, I don't think they got to the big leagues because of me.
Right.
I helped them with some other things maybe, but they were gonna get to the big leagues regardless.
Yeah.
Now, when I have kids call me and they just got married or had their first kid and trying to figure out some things in life, that's where it's cool when a guy comes back to me and says, hey, Coach McRae, I remember, you know, we were on a bus ride and blah, 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 and you was telling me that, you know, I need to start focusing on other things because I'm probably not going to be good enough to play professional ball. But you told me, like, you can be a professional dad, professional husband, professional worker, you know, things like that. So those are the things that coaching, you know, make me feel good. And then they're going on to coaching. You know, I like the guys, and I enjoy watching the guys that I coach play in the big leagues and play college ball. You know, don't get me wrong. That's cool to see that. But it's also cool to, you know, I'm walking around a dog park and I see one of my former players, and he's got his kids there, and he's happy, and things are going good for him, and his job as well. You know, those things are cool as well. And there's going to be more of those guys,
no doubt,
that I run across in my coaching career than the guys that are playing in major colleges and make it to the big leagues.
No, that's a beautiful thing. And you're right. That's why I think a lot of families need to understand, no, it's a small percentage out of any college athlete that plays to the next level.
Getting to college is hard.
It is very hard.
I just, like, your first, you know, thought is, I want to make my high school team. That's hard. You know, that could be hard. Making varsities, you know, that could be hard. Then, you know, if you're good enough, then you maybe think about college, but then moving on to college and all, it's not easy, and nothing is easy, and you're gonna fail. And I don't think we have a generation that understands that failure is part of the process. And you may fail more than once, and you probably are.
Yeah, we all do.
And everybody repeatedly fails.
Still do today.
The people that you see on TV that you think are doing great things fail. And it's tough for me to see some of our younger generation that when they fail, they fold. And, you know, I like putting my players in uncomfortable situations and watch how they react when they fail.
I agree.
Because you can't tell a lot about somebody when they're doing good.
Oh, you can't at all.
No, that's. You know, when you're going good, you don't need nobody tell you to go on good.
You're not going to change.
No, but you can tell a lot about a person and how they react when they fail, and what they do once they fail, and how they try to get themselves back in order, or do they not try to get themselves back in order. And, you know, that's the biggest thing that impacted me as a young player with some of my coaches in minor league ball and in the pros, were just how they treated you when you failed and how they treated you when you were going good. I wanted to be the same. And I learned a lot from some of my managers and coaches that weren't that way. When you were going good, they were your buddy. You know, they want to come talk to you, come by your locker, hang out with you, you know, things like that. When you're going bad, they were they weren't around. You know, you don't need anybody on your side when you're going good.
You really don't. Nope. Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that I was the type of person or type of coach that when the guy was going bad, that's when I gave him more attention, more love. I left him alone when he was going good. Like, you good. you good. You know, hitting 400, hit a couple home runs, keep going. But when they were struggling, that's when I needed to sit by him on the bus ride. ask some questions about his family. You know, take him out to dinner. You know, do some things like that. And that's what I felt that what I learned the most from some of my coaches and managers is like, be there for him when he's in need, when it does nothing for you. You know, don't, you know, he might have lost the game for you or set up, you know, something bad happening, but he's gonna help you down the road if he knows that you have his back when things are going bad. And I saw so many cases of the other, when everybody wanted to be with you when you're going good, and you were alone when you're bad.
Crickets,
and I didn't want to do that to my players. I don't want to do that to the people that I'm around daily, because that's not how I work.
That is, and I'll be honest with you, that's part of I think the reason a lot of people have mental issues are bad right now. Mental health is bad. It's a big topic right now, based off of some of the things you're talking about. But moving forward, I want to see tell everybody like the fun stuff, some fun stuff about, like, people understand, like when you were in, like you can talk a little bit about the Royals, like some fun things that happened, but in Chicago more specifically there, you were Sammy Sosa back then.
I got to play with Ryan Sandberg.
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa. You know, I got to go back to being with the Royals. I came up with some of the guys that were still on the 85 that were on the 85 World Series team. Were still there in 90.
Right.
So George Brett was still there.
Yeah.
So Willie Wilson.
Oh, Willie, man.
Who else was there? Got George, Willie, Saberhagen, Gubazar.
Yeah.
So there are probably 5 or 6 guys on that team in 90 that were there in 85. Wow. So I got to, you know, be around those guys. I watched some of them growing up. You know, Frank White, Willie, and George were around when my dad was playing, when I was a little kid. So I was a bat boy, ball boy. So that was all cool, because now I'm getting to play with those guys that I used to play around with as a little kid. And I get to Chicago. Sammy is not Sammy yet. He hadn't broken out, but he's close.
Right.
Mark Grace was there. Ryan Sandberg had retired and came back.
Right.
Sean Dunston. You know, so that was a good core group of guys there, and some big name, you know, guys there in Chicago. And I go to New York, and Mike Piazza got traded over there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Piazza was.
John Franco, Al Leiter.
Yep.
You know, so I got to play with you know, some good cats there, and the thing about all those groups of guys that have had success and or were turning into superstars was, to me, the drive that they had.
Right.
You know, I respected Mike Piazza because catching is hard. It's a hard position. It beats you up. And if you would see his body with the bruises and everything on him after some games, and just how mentally beat up he was trying to control a pitching staff, and he still was able to hit and put up those offensive numbers when he was doing all those other things.
When you think about that, you don't, not at all. Yeah.
And so that was what was, you know, what was kind of cool to see. You know, see George Brett and the injuries that he had, and how he would will himself into playing. When if I saw him at 4 o'clock, it's like, damn, he ain't playing today.
Right.
You know, I don't think he's gonna be in the lineup today. I saw him in the training room, and it didn't look good. And then 7 o'clock come, and he was out there.
Wow.
And you know, those type of things, and just to see what drive each guy had to perform every day, and how much they enjoy performing.
Right.
Because you're playing a game, but you're performing.
That's true.
You know how much they wanted to go out there for the people that supported them and put on a good show.
Right.
And when they didn't, how hurt it was. Right. You know, you don't see the hurt that in their eyes and after a game, and you know, it's not like game over. Yeah. Take a shower. I'm gonna go out and have a nice dinner type of thing. You know, there's some games where you could really see that the guy is hurting because he didn't perform up to what his standards are, and people will come to watch him. People will come to pay good money to watch George Brett. he wanted to set a standard every day where, he hustled, he played the game the right way, and he wanted to perform. And just watching those guys, and being around them every day, and how they compete, how they get themselves ready, the stuff that they had to go through sometimes to get themselves ready to play, made you appreciate it even more. And this just makes you appreciate how hard it is to play the game when you're playing every day at a high level. I played every day at a high level. I had a 5 or 6 year run there where I was a really good player.
Right.
These guys have had like 14-year runs. Like, I felt I was kind of good for like a 6-year period. I had a good run, and these guys are doing it double that at demanding positions. So that gave me a whole different level of respect for the guys that have been able to be good and continue it for a longer period. Because they made it look easy, and it's not that easy.
This is what's funny, because when you look at baseball, like I think families even look at it this way. When they're talking about their kids playing sports, they're like, football, so brutal, which is, is a brutal sport, physical sport. Then like basketball can be, treacherous to your joints, you're cutting and moving all the time. Then you think about baseball, people think, well, you should probably do baseball. I feel like that's a sport that, you less injury, blah, 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 not as physical, blah, blah. But what you're saying right now is basically.
But the thing about baseball and the other sports is it's physically demanding, exactly. And mentally challenging, and it'll beat you up, and then you play every day.
A lot of games.
In football and basketball, you have a week sometimes, or extra days. You don't play a lot of back-to-backs.
Right, true.
In baseball, you have hours. Right. So if you have an injury, you sprain your ankle or you do something, you have 12 hours to turn around and get ready to play the next day. You don't have 3 or 4 days to take off, and then you're traveling. You have 3 days here, 4 days here. So the schedule is a lot more demanding, and that beats you not more in a physical sense, but a mental sense. When I knew I was off at times is when we'd be on a long road trip, and I just forget my room number.
So many old
in Toronto, I might have been in room 312, and in Pittsburgh, I'm in room 321. And you go, and you just go to the wrong room, get in late, coming back, just things like that. To travel, sometimes we get back at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, have to play a game that night. So you're working on no sleep. You're stressed. You might be struggling. You might be beat up body wise, and to be able to endure a whole season, spring training, and a full season, it's pretty tough to do, and it's a lot more demanding than what people. They see you on the field, they don't see the other things that go on. And when people ask me what the biggest thing I take from my career that I'm most proud of is the fact that I never went on a disabled list. In the 10 years I played in the big league. So my teammates and my team could count on me to be there. I might not have been at my best, but I never went on a disabled list the whole time I played. I was available to play. I might not have played, for a coach's decision, or I was struggling, or I had a day off. But every day that I was on the active roster, I was pretty much able to answer the call and to play, and I, and that's the biggest thing to me. Is like being counted on. They knew that no matter what,
he was dependable.
I was dependable, and my dad always told me, he goes, some days you're not going to be worth the darn, but just being in that lineup helps everybody else. So just your presence there, the other team doesn't know that you beat up or mentally not there. They may not know that. They just know your name's in that lineup, and your teammates know you're in that lineup. Your teammates know you out there for them. And he says, just some days you just have to be out there, and just hope for the best. But you need to be out there for them. They don't want to see you in the training room. They don't want to see you pull yourself out of the game. They want to know that whatever's going on with you, you're out there with them.
That's good stuff. The the thing that's cool, I think, and what I think in your life, I think most fathers and sons don't get to do this. I was watching ESPN, and they talked a little bit about Ken Griffey and his dad both being in the league at the same time. You were one of those small percentage of people that got to be with your dad and play while your dad managed. What was that like?
We actually played a spring training game together.
Oh, you did?
In '86, before the Griffies did in the big league. So I think we're the first. I have to look it up, but I think somebody told me that we were the first father and son being in the same lineup.
Get out of here.
In 1986 in the spring training game, because as a first round pick in '85, you get invited to spring training the next year, and they keep you around for a couple weeks, and then they ship you off to. But that's kind of the perk of being a first round pick. So I came in to spring training, and I got to play in a game with my dad the year before he retired. So he retired in '87. I got to big leagues in '90. So it was going to be hard for him to stick around for us to play together. But the Griffies were able to do it in the big leagues, and a few years later, I think '89 was when they did it. But '86, me and my dad were able to play in a game, a spring training game. And then when he came to manage the Royals in '91, I think it was. Midway through the season in '91, the thing that made me feel comfortable about that transition was because I was already there.
Right.
I came up in '90. I started the season in '91. I think John Wathan was the manager, and then he was fired, and my dad took over. I would have felt a lot more uncomfortable with the situation if he was the manager and I got called up.
Right.
You know, I wasn't established big leaguer yet, but I was there. I got there before him, so it wasn't because of him that I was in the big leagues at that time. Yep. I was there.
You earned it, yeah.
I'd earned it, and then he got the job. So that was a neat experience because our family hadn't been together. Everybody had been all over the place, and my dad was coaching at the time with Montreal, I think. So my parents were living in Montreal. And my brother and sister were in college, and I was in Kansas City. So we were kind of, but that in that time that he managed here, we got to do a lot more together as a family than we'd ever done before that because we were in one place. Everybody could come to one place and see and see everybody. So that was neat. And looking back at it, it was '92 was not fun. He came up '91. '92 was, I struggled. I had a bad year in '92, and I think I took a lot of the blame on put a lot of blame on myself, thinking that we struggled as a team, and my dad may get fired as a manager because I didn't play well.
I got you.
Because I was a leadoff hitter, and I just thought that I think I overanalyzed too much in 1992 because that was the first full year of him being a manager. Right. I thought I was established now because I came up in '90, had a full year in '91. '92 I was going to take off. I thought that was my year, and it didn't happen. And we struggled. I struggled. My dad struggled as a manager, and I took that all to heart, and that was the worst year of my career. And then '93 and '94 rebounded, bounced back, and things, I think I exhaled and said, whatever happened before, I can't throw all these high expectations on myself and just go out and play my game. So '93, '94 were great, and it was cool to have him in the dugout to watch that. And the team was playing well, and we almost made the playoffs. So that was the most satisfying thing. Was to come back after having a bad '92 year, and then go on a run of 6 years where I kind of established myself as one of the better center fielders in the league, and a good player, and just felt good about what I was doing, and had my dad there in '93 and '94, get to see my successes every night. He didn't have somebody call like, Brian got a couple hits tonight. He was like, yeah. So he got to see it, and so that was cool that we got to experience that together for those 2 years, because '92 was a year that I beat myself up more than any other year as a big league player. I learned a lot, but I also put myself in a bad situation by my thought process.
Right.
And
but that's a lot of pressure. Though,
I needed the rebound because if I didn't have a good year in '93, I probably wouldn't have played anymore.
Right, I got you. No, that's a lot though. I mean, we got Pops coming in, and you want to make him do right by him, let him know you came and you're doing it right and doing it big now, and then for him being a manager again, just like you just said, it would suck if you had a bad year and then
if he gets fired, I think I was because of me.
I'd have been the same way though. I'd have been the same way.
I messed around and got my dad fired.
Exactly, they right. That's family. But no, that's good. So this is one thing I do want everyone to know that's listening in the world. Kansas City is the home of the Negro Baseball Museum, and talk a little bit about that. I know you've been there quite a bit. We've all been there, but talk a little about that and the impact.
Well, one, I hope it stays.
Yeah.
There are different entities that are trying to move the Negro League Museum, I think, to Birmingham or to New York. And they have more funding and more money, and they're thinking they can do a better job. But this is where the meeting happened. Right. The league was formed at a meeting here in Kansas City. The museum needs to stay in Kansas City. The 18th and Vine area, COVID has pretty much crushed that area. The Jazz Museum, I don't know if that's hanging. I was on the board for a while with the Negro League Museum, and I help out with different events there. It's something that to me, it shows what the pure essence of baseball. Right. What it is and what it was.
Right.
With
no big contracts or
and the guys barnstorm and they played and. They bounced around from town to town, and they found a way to make it work.
Right.
And they played the game they love playing. Right. Played the game of baseball, and the Negro Leagues. They created a lot of things that people don't even know about. Right. Lights.
Right.
Lights at the game, playing night games.
Right.
Those. Some of those things started. The Negro League started doing. They pioneered.
Right.
Some of those things that we just kind of take for granted now, and just the understanding of the whole dynamics of it, where these guys weren't able to play at the highest level, but they made it to the highest level they could, and then it got to the point where they were able to play exhibition games against big league teams, and 50,000 people would come out and watch them.
Right.
They wouldn't watch them separate, but they would watch them together. So that was, but it's just neat to learn, learn the history of some of the great players in the Negro Leagues, to learn that, there were leagues formed before it was official, that played, and you played in your own community and things like that. So baseball in the black community have great history.
Right, for sure.
And it'd be a shame to lose that.
Yeah.
And I know there's a resurgence with some inner city programs that are going on. The academy here that the Royals help build. So you just hope that it continues to grow, and the grassroots initiatives that Major League Baseball is trying to do, and what a lot of these communities are trying to do, bring kids back to understanding that baseball is a sport that you can play.
No doubt.
It is for you, and it's fun and exciting, and
right. And I'll be honest with you, if you guys have not been to the Negro Museum, Baseball Museum, you got to go, and if you can support this mission, because like Brian said, it's definitely needed. The traditions and history that the Negro League and the baseball players built.
And Bob Kendrick there is the best.
Yeah.
There was a division going on some years ago, about 10 years ago, and he was let go right after Buck O'Neill's death from the Negro League Museum as the president. And the museum was almost lost, and he's back, and he's not only a Kansas City treasure, but he's a baseball treasure. Just spend time with him and talk to him or listen to him speak. He does as good a job as anybody to be an ambassador for something. And it's a privilege to get to hang out with him, and I learn something new every time I hang out with him. And I go to the museum sometimes. I'll take some friends in there and just hope that he's there, just to stumble upon him, and he'll
wealth of knowledge,
welcome them and take them through, and So I hope the museum stays here in Kansas City, and Bob does as great a job as you can do with being at the forefront of things there. And I know with the Kansas City T-Bones changing their name to the Monarchs, they're going to incorporate some things.
I like that. I like that.
So I think that's all good. And the museum has struggled, and COVID didn't help. But I think it's on the rebound, and hopefully we'll see some good things there in the future.
Right, I love it. Let's talk a little bit about your former team, the Kansas City Royals. Right now, they seem to be playing very, very well.
No, it's fun to see. They're in first place,
right? And
we're almost at the end of April.
Right.
They have pretty much done what they needed to do. They've beaten the teams that they're better than.
Right.
And I think they've only lost one series to the Rays, and the Rays played in the World Series last year. They split with the Indians and the White Sox, who they're going to have to battle with for the division. No, it's fun to watch them right now, and they're an exciting team. Hopefully, they continue to play this way, and as the months go on, people can get out to the ballpark.
No doubt, right.
Hopefully by All-Star break, we'll be able to have full crowds or close to full crowds out there, so people can enjoy this team in person and give them the type of shot that you need a long season. That energy level that you get from the fans is a good boost.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I mean,
I don't know how they did it playing in front of no fans.
Right.
Because I remember doing that in the low minor leagues, and every day going to the ballpark, hearing conversations, and being around no energy.
Right.
You had to create your energy, and every day you can't create your own energy. It just doesn't happen like that. So to have fans be able to give them that little boost, hopefully more and more people can go out there. The times that I've been out there, it's been great. Hearing, just 6,000 sound like 40.
Right.
And it's been good.
Yeah, it was similar when we went to the Chiefs, the little we had there. So tell us about Kansas City. Like, obviously you played here, you've done very well, and but you picked this to be your home. You could be in Bradenton, you could be anywhere, New York, Chicago. I mean, a lot of great cities in the United States that you could live in. What's special about KC and making this your home and being here?
I enjoy the Midwest. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the fact that I'm 2.5 hours from either coast if I want to go somewhere.
True.
With the travel that I did, especially when I was broadcasting and working for ESPN and Major League Baseball out of New York, I just like having a home base here. I enjoy, like I said, just the fact that it's accessible. Not to say you can hide out, but I like the fact that I can come back home and relax. And people don't bother me much here. They didn't bother me much here when I played. And I appreciate the fact that the people gave me my personal space and my family space. And I think that's the main reason. It's not a big deal to run into professional athletes here that much. So people have been real good and gracious in that way, and made me feel comfortable enough to want to live here. My family live here, and those are probably the biggest reasons.
Right. I love it. Yeah, and I'm with you there. I'm the same way. Yep. And it's not only that. It's like people genuinely care and want to see you do well, like you've done since I've been here. So I appreciate you taking me in and introducing me to some new people I hadn't met, and ongoing from there. But as far as your future go, obviously you've done a lot and accomplished a lot. Where do you see yourself? Like, what's your 5-year plan from now?
I don't know.
What you gonna do, man?
Because COVID kind of put a halt on summer baseball and some of the coaching and the things that I was doing with my summer program, my Kansas City Sluggers program. We had 6 and 8 teams before COVID, and I coach with them and do lessons and things like that. But with the last 2 years being up in the air, it's kind of changed my thinking about what I want to do. And my daughter's getting into high school, so next year she'll be at Blue Valley North, and probably just going to wait things out and see what happens on the college front with coaching wise. COVID's probably going to knock out a lot of college baseball programs, unfortunately, or they're going to use that as an excuse to drop some programs. So the opportunities aren't going to be there as much to coaching in college, and that's unfortunate because college is going to lose a lot of talented people that are going to have to go into other fields. So for right now, I think I'll just try to rebrand and build the summer program.
Right, I love it.
And hopefully by the fall, I'll have a little bit better idea of what we want to do and what we can do. We had an indoor facility in North Kansas City for a while.
Right.
That the company that we were renting space out of, Regal Athletic or Regal Plastics, they had to use the rest of that. So we lost our indoor facility. Some of the fields that were high school fields that we had been using over the last few years because of COVID, they weren't letting.
Of course, no one to get out there. Yeah.
You couldn't use the field. So that's all kind of put a dent into what I normally would do in the summers, where I would coach a 16 or 17U team. We travel around the Midwest every weekend for about 8 weeks and play tournaments in front of college coaches, and I'd help kids try to get scholarships. So I'm just waiting everything out.
I love it.
But eventually I'd like to get back into doing that. I broadcasted for on and off for 15 years, doing college ball and did the Royals for a little bit on TV and radio, pre and post game. Did some of those broadcasting things. Not as many broadcast opportunities are out there either.
No, right, for sure.
So the things that I normally do in the summer and fall have been taken away from me a little bit.
COVID shut it down. They really did.
But there are other things that have opportunities to come up since COVID. Memorabilia is going crazy. So I've done autograph shows, and I think I'm going to go to Chicago in July and do some of those. So some of those things are coming. So it's not what I'm used to doing in the summer, but there's some other opportunities for some things until we get back to normal.
Man, that's awesome. And no matter what, I know you're gonna be all right. But for what we're gonna do, man, I want to say thank you, because this is really big, and not only that, you helped set this up. So we'll hopefully be doing a lot more podcasts and getting some things done. How do people find you? You got on Instagram or what?
Instagram is B McRae 56. My number.
Yep.
On Twitter, it's Park Baseball, PARKBSB, and it was my Twitter handle when I was coaching at Park University, and I just kept it, and that's about the only thing I do social media wise. But I do interact with baseball fans and people on social media. Especially during the season, they want to ask questions, and especially with the analytics and the data-driven side against the old school side. So answer a lot of questions that way, and I have good discussions with players and high school players, college players that have questions about things, and I have no issue with people reaching out to me.
Reach out to him. He's a wealth of knowledge, and also not only that, he knows all the good places to eat. So you know that. So, but I'm Marlin Blakeney. Obviously, you can find me at QWorld. That's my handle on the IG. On IG, our Q_World podcast is where you'll find all the clips and video for the podcasts we're doing. Please hit on YouTube. hit that subscribe button for us, because we definitely need you to follow us, and your feedback is very important to our success. Pass this on to friends, family members. Let them know what we're doing if you like it. And other than that, we'll look forward to talking to you guys later. Thanks for sharing your time with us. We know it's very valuable, and you could be doing a million things other than just listening to us talk. But we really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you guys on our next podcast. Take care.